Hello there, how are you today? I hope all is fine and you feel great, whatever you do and whatever you are. I know that the first episode was listened by people from Poland, Spain, and the United States. Oof, what a pressure, but I'm very happy. So first of all, I would like to thank you for all the opinions and comments regarding the first episode. I'm so happy and so surprised you liked it, and your support is just incredible. Also, thank you for doing your first homework. I got a little bit of criticism and a bunch of useful suggestions, highly appreciated. And I hope it will be better with time and with practice. And Mateusz emailed me saying I made a pronunciation mistake of a word direction. But I haven't really used this word in the first episode. Probably you meant reaction, which wasn't pronounced too clearly. So I'm very sorry for a confusion, and I'm working on my diction. Fingers crossed so that it will be better. So moving to today's topic. In this episode, I want to talk about myself, and not because I'm so egocentric and full of self-admiration, but because I want you to know me better, to know my background. Of course, all the facts I prepared are about me, but they describe my beginnings with languages and my experience and background. So it is not strictly about my personal and boring life itself, don't worry. So here we go. Fact number 1. Languages I speak. I speak 3 languages. Polish, which is my mother tongue. English, which is a second language I've learned and studied at the University of Łódź and University of Vigo in Spain. And Spanish, which I learned when I used to live in Spain for some time. And funny story, or not that funny really, I had Spanish classes before I moved to Spain. So I had Spanish classes at the university when I studied English philology. But it was the worst language course I have ever been to, and I learned absolutely nothing. The teacher primarily taught French, and I don't think Spanish was good enough to teach other people, and our exam was joke because we could have our textbooks open. So I was very disappointed, and I stopped liking the language because before those lessons, the language sounded very appealing to me, and after the classes it was just horrible. So you can see that the teacher is very important in the process of learning, because teacher or lecturer should inspire you, motivate you, make you like the language. And if not, then you might hate it, and that's not good. Okay, 2. Failure. In high school, I had German classes, but I have no idea how to speak German. I have never really liked the language, and it's not any teacher's fault. It doesn't sound too appealing to me. It's very harsh, and I cannot remember anything that is in German. So best regards to my cousin Kasia, who is 17, and she understands Rammstein songs without any problem, and she speaks German very well, and not only German. So really admire her. 3. Experience. So I've been teaching English for about, I think, 8 years now, or maybe 9, I don't know. I started with private lessons when I studied English philology, and then I had an episode working in a primary school with children and in language school also with children. And then when I graduated from the university, I moved to Spain, where I worked in a language school where I taught adults in companies. And I'm very lucky because now some of my Spanish students are my friends and we are still in touch. 4. First memory. My first memory connected with learning English is an English lesson in a kindergarten. So I was about 6 years old by then. And a teacher who had classes with us, with our group, prepared a class about clothes. and one kid in the group wore a tracksuit. You know, a typical grey hoodie and grey pants. And the teacher asked us what he wore. And she expected from us an English word describing not his clothes in English, but his clothes in Polish. Because this word in Polish sounds like an English word for a female piece of clothing. So she wanted us to say dress, right? Dress in Polish is tracksuit, but it sounds like English dress, which is female clothing. So yeah, she expected from us too much, I think, because all the kids, including me, listed everything else apart from dress. And I remember the teacher's disappointment. She was very sad that we didn't get it. Number 5, other languages. So I have this weird tendency that when I'm abroad, when I travel, I read all the signboards and billboards out loud, even when I don't know the language. So when I'm in Italy, I try to read signs in Italian with the fake Italian accent, and it's so wrong. So, you know, gelato, I know it doesn't sound Italian, but for me, in my head, it is. It does. So when I'm in France, I tend to say 2 words that I know with the accent that for me is so French, but for French people, not necessarily. So when I enter the shop, I shout. I don't say, I shout, bonjour. And then when I leave, I say merci. And why? Oh, why am I doing this? I have no idea. I'm so conscious of the fact that it's so embarrassing, you know, especially for people who are there with me. But I'm so happy when I do it. So yeah, it's ridiculous. Number 6, confession. So the next fact is a confession. I don't always understand everything someone says in English, especially when that person is from Ireland or Scotland and has a very strong accent. So when I lived in Spain, one of the teachers in the language school I worked in was Scottish. I saw him only, from time to time, so I wasn't really used to his accent. And I was so afraid of talking to him because he had such a Scottishly difficult accent. And I remember we went for a Christmas dinner to a restaurant which was totally filled with people. So it was extremely loud in there. Everybody had to scream to each other. After some time, everybody was a bit drunk, so they didn't have perfect diction. We used 3 different languages to talk to each other. So I felt like I was in the middle of chaos. And here I am, sat next to the Scottish guy who tried to talk to me after some time. So imagine, extremely loud place, alcohol and Scottish accent. Until this day, I have no idea whatsoever what he was talking about. I was just nodding and saying, yeah, sure, yeah, I get it. Horrible experience. 7, beginnings. So when I was younger, probably in a primary school, I started to fall in love with English. I remember that I loved to read my picture dictionary I got from my uncle, page by page, even if I didn't, understand everything, but I loved it. And I had very cool computer program for English learners, and I learned a lot of vocabulary. I used to spend many hours in front of the computer solving all the exercises. And always before going to sleep, I like to listen to the radio or to some tape with fairy tales or with some music. And I had my dad's cassette, which was attached to his English textbook, the typical tape of recordings in English for teachers of English. And I listened to it over and over again, so I knew it by heart, both sides. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's a bit weird. But yeah, I knew it. Alright, so those were the facts about me. Hope they were informative and not too boring. And now it's turn for your homework. Email me your story with learning English or any other language you speak well or not so well. Tell me, how did you start? When did you start? What was your motivation? What was your first memory with the language? And maybe you have some interesting or funny story I will be able to share in the next episode. Who knows? All right, that's it for today. Hear you next week. Bye bye.